Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kezia Lee Show. And I'm super excited to have this phenomenal man. I love that we have a man coming on the podcast to share with us today. This is Darren Bruce. Darren dropped into my inbox probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I can't even remember what it was about, but I know at the time, I think I was posting about relationships and wanting to be in a relationship. And literally like 2 or 3 weeks later, I text him saying, I'd actually met someone. And in that moment, he gave me this overall snippet, like just from this one photo of Logan and I, my partner, if you don't know, this one little snippet of us just from a photo. And I was like, what the fuck? Who is this man? Like, I don't know what he can see. So we've stayed circled in each other's worlds for a long time, and I wanted to bring him on today because he's an emotional intelligence coach. He works with parents, with mums, relationships, dads as well, obviously. And I just wanted to bring him on to see how he could support us more. I have a lot of women come into my world who, struggle to know how to communicate so effectively with their partner, to ask for what they need. And I think as women, we struggle to even understand from a man's perspective how to do that. So we're just going to jump fucking straight in. Hello, Darren. Welcome.
Hi, so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yay. So, yeah, I want to know where are we women getting it wrong when it comes to, or what are the common challenges that you see with women? I think especially I want to speak to when we have smaller children and we are very busy and running businesses, having babies. Like, what do you think is the biggest challenge, or what do you think is the way we can help the most in those times?
Help the most. Help.
I don't know.
All right, let's start broad. The first thing I want to say is anything that I say, if if it's about, like, you said, what are we doing wrong? How can we do better? It's just that I believe everything is happening perfectly the way that it is. And so there's actually no need for anything to change for someone to actually feel, good about themselves. So all of this is just feedback for enhancing the experience that we have. I even think when it comes to the worst things that kids can go through with parents, that there is this bigger, thing that I can't explain that's going on that is, you know, that serves that child to actually then go on a journey of life to actually reveal what they were always meant to do. So with that said, here's how you fucking up. No, joke.
This is what you're doing wrong.
So yeah, the first thing to acknowledge is, as a mother, and I coach mums and dads and all other people who aren't parents as well, but mums have this inherent sense of guilt, I think. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that
Yeah.
there is this underlying sense of guilt that they should. It's interesting how you said, "What are we doing wrong?" Right? That
Yeah.
you actually can get it wrong, and that what I'm implying is you can't get it wrong, but if you want to have like a better experience and maybe uh, deepen the connection that you have with yourself, the understanding that you have with yourself, and and by the way, if you want to deepen the intimacy that you have with your child, the emotional intimacy, the connection, or with your partner, that will all start with the emotional intimacy you have with yourself. So I think all of our purposes is to discover ourselves. I think that's the basic level. And then that actually looks different for each of us because, discovering yourself might be, oh, I'm a fireman or whatever. Or, you actually find out what you naturally enjoy doing. And it's not because something happened when you were younger and you had to go and prove something or save someone or do something that someone said you should do. Like, so yeah, I think there's this inherent sense of guilt, and that comes from really, you become the mother, but who are you without being the mother when that happens? Like, I've worked with, you know, people, mums age from about 30 all the way up to 60, and really smart people too. The older ones, like head of English department in schools, um, and I can relate to this from a different perspective when I began the journey of like discovering who I am and realizing that I was just trying to fix and save everybody. I think that everyone who becomes a coach or is in some sort of area of well-being started with trying to fix and save everybody because they thought that they were broken. I think what I realized was that if I were to like look at who I was the achiever, with a little bit of Darren. And so I'm relating that to what I see a lot in mums, where they're like 90% mum, and that little bit of you is in the background. So,
Mm.
I know this is a bit broad, but the question is, how can we bring you to the forefront and like integrate those things together?
Yeah.
Because if you think about the guilt, right? I think the guilt is not about the kids won't have me around and they'll feel, uncomfortable or they'll be upset. The guilt is I I'm not finding this sense of acceptance within myself when I take time for myself. We're not seeing how, you know, we're always being supported or challenged, and on the border of support and challenge, the greatest benefit to us. So when a child's challenged and needs to spend time away from the mother, then there's a benefit to that as well, right? And like there's a lot to there's a lot to go through with that because I don't expect any mum to just go all of a sudden, I'm going to work through all these really uncomfortable feelings and these obligations and even like the story that creates, right? I think probably the most important thing to say first is if you ever feel any form of discomfort, then you're not going to be able to come up with the solution and the best thing for everyone. So your first priority is to feel good again, is to feel better again.
Mm.
And that's the
Mm.
process is how do we get you back feeling like yourself first before you respond to the kids or before you take the time away or whatever it is. And what I always say, I describe it like, and this is essentially what I do. We can talk about, what's my title or everything. I teach people how to regulate themselves in any given situation. And if we think about all of the stress that comes with the kids are running around, there's a mess everywhere. Can you relate?
Yes.
That 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 was always there, but all of a sudden, because they're in front of us now we're experiencing all of this stress, this
Mm.
dysregulation, these emotions. That was always there, but now it's just bringing it to the forefront, right? So the question is, how can we get through all that? Because I also think that we're actually every single time, whether we're reactive or we're happy about it with our kids, that's actually a part of us at that age that we are either rejecting, neglecting, or happy about. You're good when you do that. You're bad when you do that.
Mm.
And the way that we work as kids, right, is that we have an attachment system and a defensive system. If our attachment system, who needs attachment to the parents or one person at least, if that is challenged at all, we will completely neglect our defensive system just to stay attached because we need that to live. And so then when we get in that situation as a parent, fast forward, and I'm looking at my kid, my body wants to still stay attached, even if it is yelling at them or, upsetting them or the opposite and giving them too much or not
Wow.
making them think about other people's uh, needs and things like that. One of the things that we do at the dinner table, I really make sure is what were the we play this game. What were the highlights and lowlights of your day? So
Mm.
my 5-year-old daughter does that, and then I say, okay, these are mine. What were yours to my wife? And then other times, like I'm talking to her, and I'm like, tell me what you experienced. Now I'm going to tell you what I experienced, you repeat it back to me. She doesn't get it right. She's 5, right? But it's not about that. It's the principle of her beginning to think about other people. And that needs to be, trained and stuff like that. But that's, at first it's like the education of well, what do I do and how do I do it? But then also am I doing it um from a from a place of lack. And that just comes back to like being able to tune in to that. Because I think a lot of people who are into personal development can be like, well, I'm going to parent completely different because my parents are fucked up, right? So I've been really conscious of that I'm not like, dad wasn't around as much as I wanted to be, so I'll be around all the time. It's like, no, everything is perfect right now. What we actually need to come back to is if you're able to manage and regulate yourself, you will have the answers. So you
Mm.
trust yourself that we could talk about the strategies and how can you raise a better kid and all this sort of stuff. But if you feel good about yourself, you're deeply connected with yourself and you're able to navigate those uncomfortable feelings, you'll know exactly what to say and do. So there's two aspects to this, right? It's like we can talk about strategy and the science behind it, but then also like the more you tap back into your unique, creative, individual self, well, they're modeling that, right? And I think it's funny, I said the other day that the thing that we don't realize when we play out these patterns as parents of like what we want for them or happy about something that they did is, or even like great job or encouragement, or thinking that they need something, we can think about what would be great for their future. If we say that or we imply that at all, we deny the unique, creative, limitless intelligence that comes with an individual that they're born with, right? So it's like, you don't fucking need to go to school. You don't need me to like guide you into this sport or talk this about this work or how to make money or whatever. It's like if you stay connected and tapped into that creative version of yourself, everything will take care of itself. But I think that takes this huge level of faith for us as humans. And if you're someone like most of us that had that completely neglected and put to the side without even realizing that school teachers or our parents themselves didn't even realize they were doing it, then that's going to be really fucking uncomfortable to like trust that to do for them. So I remember my dad saying, you should do this and get a safe job. And then I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and do things the hard way. Like, and then realize, oh, holy shit, he had a point. But if I just dropped all of that and I just tuned into, fuck, what do I love? And, you know, why am I worthy of that? Because I do feel like what you said, almost every time the problem that someone's facing is its self-worth and it's this
Yeah.
image created that there's something wrong with me, which is actually born out of a feeling that we experience when we're really young. And the story kind of is grows up out of that like a plant. I'm imagining like a seed planted that I'll tell you one. When I was is this making sense?
Yeah.
When I was really young, I used to be lay in bed and the door was open. My dad would come home, and at the time he had financial challenges, like some people sued him and stuff like that, and he was like so angry about it. And I realized not long ago that, well, first I knew, I said to my mum when I realized that there was these stresses around money and things like that, I said, would anything happen when I was a kid that was stressful? And I'm telling this story because this is so powerful for mums and parents, is that the kid will feel exactly what we feel as if it's happening to them. And they'll take responsibility to change it because that is the only way they'll feel better.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, mum's upset. I'll do something to make her feel better because I can't feel better without her because that's the only example I have, the only thing in front of me that will determine whether I feel good or not. So,
Mm.
so, and she said, yeah, you would have experienced stress if you feel like we're feeling because none of you four kids were planned. So every time she's pregnant, he's like, holy shit, how am I going to pay for this? Um, and because I had this memory of being four, I sort of tuned in and I'm like, what's that like feeling in my chest? And it sort of led me down that picture of being in the kitchen. And anyway, long story short, that I was like, okay, what's the story that came from that? And I noticed like not long ago, it was like, I don't want to be a financial burden. And I noticed how my insecurities are playing out in my relationship and that sort of stuff. Because it's like, well, rationally, can I even be a financial burden? But where did that come from? Well, while dad's saying all these things about, annoying that people are taking away money and that's why he's angry and upset and all those things, I'm laying in bed and thinking, well, I'm also the reason that he doesn't have as much money because he's paying for, food and shelter and all those sorts of things. So little version of me comes up with this story that I need to save. I need to, change the world and make $1 million so I can save mum and dad and everyone. And that's dictated so much of my life. And that could be, you could say anything. It could be for the mum, it could be the deep intimacy with the man because of
Mm.
what happened with, your dad when you were younger and how neglected you felt. And not to mention, I think we're all grieving a lack of dads being around. Like the dad primarily biologically is there. The kid feels the most of the love, the oxytocin hormone, when he or she hugs the mum.
Yeah.
When he plays with the dad, that's when they feel the most. So I just been solo parenting for 4 days. My daughter wanted one hug, but she wanted to play non-stop. Let's play spot the difference, fucking this and that, because that's where she feels love. This is such a powerful idea that if people can understand, it's like, especially my wife and mom's, oh, they're always wanting me, they always want to touch me and hug me. It's because they get that more from you than the dad. So I'm saying this because now think about a little girl or a little boy, like the people we're talking about, like mums and adults now. Think about them when they're 4 or 5. What was missing the most if dad was missing the most? Fucking play.
Yeah.
Fun. And what's 96% of all problems in relationships solved? Deep friendship, play, creativity. This is one of the things that I teach in the model of relationships is your best friends, lovers, and parents. And almost every time best friends is the issue, is the problem. And sometimes it's not even about the two people. It's like, are you just having fun and accessing your creativity and play by yourself so that you can then come back into the relationship so there isn't this pressure? Because I think that
Mm.
women experience a lot of pressure from guys.
From guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
In what way?
Pressure to have sex because
Right.
they can be aroused in a second from just imagining a picture they see, but a
Yeah.
woman has to be intellectually and physically aroused. So he might go to touch her for the first time in the day because he wants to go straight to sex, whereas she wants to actually experience something that represents, I I value and honor your heart. I'm devoted to you. And yeah, I also want to get you in bed, but your heart over everything, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And also that's a reflection of him, how willing and able is he to, access the emotional intimacy that he has with himself so that he can really get beyond that primal animalistic, okay, I want to get you into bed and I want to penetrate. Yeah.
There's so much good stuff here.
I'm quite a
I
long
don't know.
time,
I'm
so
like,
you
that,
stop me when
there's a lot. I'm like, okay, I want to talk about, my partner and I have this year have chosen, he had his building business and he was working. I mean, last year was a fucking shit show, 60, 70 hours. And this year we're creating a new model for how we want to do our lives. And that is, we spend
how
equal
long he was
time.
working? Is that what you meant?
Pardon?
60? Did you mean 60 to 70 hours he was working?
Working. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Last year. Yeah. And his building business and finishing renovating our house. But that was pretty normal for him anyway. I mean, would have been more like he was working 7 days a week for the last 6 months of last year, like to not only work, but also finishing renovating our house to sell it.
How'd that work,
So, pardon?
how'd that work out for you?
Oh, that was absolutely fucked.
Thank you for your honesty.
Pardon? Yeah,
Thank you.
it's fucked. And this, it was fucked also because I not only have been someone who had, up until having children, had created my own model of freedom, which was time freedom, financial freedom, lifestyle, all those things. And then within the space of 4 years, I had met a partner, locked down, couldn't travel, had 2 kids, lost all my money, and my partner was working 7 days a week. So my model of freedom was completely destroyed. The identity in it was completely destroyed. And it was perfect because that model wasn't serving me any longer either. And I had to still find freedom in my current, because I wanted my children. I wanted to be in partnership. I wanted to be an amazing present mum. So last year, that period of showing me exactly what I do not want. Thank you for showing me what I do not want. So this year we decided to we're still in the creation. I think, as we always are. You talked about meeting each moment and the aliveness, and how does it look like for us in the dynamic of men and women. And yeah, I guess for us, we've decided that we spend equal parts looking after the children. We've got two very young children, and we're moving down to the Gold Coast soon. So we might find they're 3 and 18 months some form of care, but they're with us all the time. And I guess the question I wanted to ask, and we're loving it, by the way, we are loving this model. He works on his business, I work on mine. I work 15 hours a week. He works about 20 hours a week, a bit more. Roughly those figures, is not exactly, sometimes I work more. I guess the question that comes to me from that is like, how is it impacting? I mean, I see how much more connected my kids are from having that element of play with having the fathers around. Like, how is it impacting our kids now, not having a dad who is present to play?
Are you saying, how is it impacting our kids when they haven't had a dad present to play?
Yeah, because I think a lot of
Because
majority.
because you obviously, you're saying that your kids are experiencing that with Logan right now.
Yeah.
Well, before I answer the question, I want to ask you, what have you noticed, if anything, with him around more to play?
I mean, I'm a lot happier, to be honest.
What
Uh,
what do
like
you what makes you happy about that? Curious.
I'm happy because, one, obviously from the polarity of last year of him working 7 days a week, I have more freedom for my creativity. Like last year, I didn't even have time to exercise. Like, he was up at 5 a.m. and that's probably untrue, but I was so exhausted from not sleeping, having a newborn baby, up in that first year is always pretty, so trying to even exercise when my cortisol was through the roof, I was a walking corpse in my view. There was some connection, but so I'm happier because I have more time for my creativity and for me and for my soul work. I'm happier because my kids are so connected. I can be, when I'm with my kids, I'm with them. I'm not like, I hate you and I resent you because I have to look after you 7 days a week, which was becoming. I'm happier because I used to feel guilt that I'm not that really playful one. Like, I don't really want to get on the trampoline. I mean, I like going for walks. I like, hunt together parent. I think we talked about that, but I like doing things that we're included, like I'm loving my kids are a bit older because we can go to the beach and I don't have to hold the baby constantly. I love adventure and I like going bike riding, but yeah, I'm happy because, and he's happier. I can feel that Logan is happier because, like, he's so much more joyful.
Mm.
It brings out so much more play within him. Like, I'm like, wow, you're a different human being,
Mm.
not working 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week.
Yeah. What was the exact question again? I want to make sure I heard.
I don't know. Um,
What do you think is, how do
well,
you think?
yeah, on an overall impact, like, obviously, I think what we're doing is amazing, but on a larger scale, with the way our current Western climate where we live, Australia, let's say, that most men are working, 70 hours a week and not being connected with their kids. Like, what is the impact of not having play or connected fathers on children and families? So what are you seeing?
uh, a stifled ability to learn.
Mm.
By playing, we learn more. We learn faster. Um, the man will instinctively know how to manage a danger or risky situations. That whether the kid wants to jump off the couch, how high do they want to jump? Where are they going to land? And tell me what you think. But I think that isn't a natural instinctive ability from a mother because her primary focus, biologically, primarily, is nurturing. I check you're safe. So that is what can dysregulate the mother. The very
I have
thing.
so much anxiety about them falling off things. Oh my gosh. I am like, I cannot do it. I can't even watch them on the jungle gym. I'm like, I said to Logan, I'm like, can you please get him off the bench when Bruno's standing? Because I just have, my body goes into, I literally shut, I can't even get them near a balcony ledge. I am so terrified right now.
Thank you.
It's wild for me.
I'm telling you my point of view, my experience, also
Yeah.
coaching other parents, and what I learn about, biologically how we're different as people, because that's important if I want to be able to, enhance. Well, it's all interwoven with, my quality of my relationship, and then with my kids as well. But yeah, like they're missing that instinctive tapping into uh, risk management and being
Mm,
able to expand their comfort zones and their relationship with their body. Every time they do that, they they'll feel the fear, and then they'll calculate what is too scary and overwhelming, and what is a little bit scary, but I can still manage this, right? And I feel like I've had a next level degree in that, because going into the military and being a leadership instructor for pre-deployment is like, I'm doing that with self-defense. I'm doing that with abseiling, where I'm literally throwing people off the edge of a cliff and managing when their stress goes too high. I know how to take over, or get it right in that, which ironically we would call in that we want them to be in the play zone. There was like comfort zone, the play zone, and then the overwhelm zone. So, but we would have to be in the play zone in order to like bring them back down from the overwhelm zone to find out, okay, you stopped moving. Your body's frozen. You can't free fall anymore down, 50 meters into this giant, like, abyss, that I need to take over and guide you through this process. And that's basically what's going on for the dad. Is you might mentioned about when you're scared when they're near um or like a balcony or something really high. Is that what you said?
yeah. Yeah.
I have the same thing. I'll picture either myself dropping him as a baby over the edge or him falling. But what that does is makes me hyper focused. My brain's doing that because it's
Ah,
constantly scanning for danger. So it
danger.
actually makes me hyper focused. When we had our daughter first, I was so gentle with her because I was so hyper focused on that. But then obviously we had him 5 years later. But then if there is any little like small snippet of danger, he'll know straight away. There's in self-defense, you should see some of these guys who have really high level ability in some of these martial arts. They tell stories about how there's a fight that breaks out, and someone behind them, they don't even see them, but they know that a punch is coming, right? So it's like
Wow.
instinctive primal thing that we will sense danger. So, and that let's talk about some practicality of how we'd actually handle that and work better together. That he needs to know that you feel that. And when he knows, he like it's a gift to him to take care of you. So every time he doesn't know, and then you show up with the story and the actions that come out of that discomfort, he's thinking, hang on, I'm trying to keep you safe. And all of a sudden, like you become a threat because that all happens
Mm,
unexpectedly. But so I think that's where the big challenge is, because we've gone through the last 50 years where women through culture they started doing and taking care of themselves more, right? Like look back, they were being taken care of while they took care of the kids entirely, right? They needed to be taken care of because they were full time with the kids all the time. But now I think what we're going through is this overcorrection where, yeah, I can take care of myself. Oh, if you want to take care of me, that's insulting. I can take care of myself.
mm,
And what we need to get back to elevate consciousness through relationships to unite men and women is me wanting to take care of you is not because you're weak. It's because I want you to shine. I'm like, I'm like, we're dancing and you are the centerpiece. I'm leading you around the dance floor to show you off because that's how you thrive, not taking care of yourself all the time. That I get to protect you from yourself, protect you from your own emotions, reactivity that you might not even be aware of. Because the other thing that I work on every day and I'm really grateful for all of the tools and experiences I've had and willingness to, take responsibility for my own uncomfortable emotions and low self-worth, that I can tune into how she's feeling before she even knows.
Wow.
And and that's a difficult thing for men to even comprehend, that that's an intangible thing. It's like, well, what am I sensing here? But that, I think that also comes back to, well, how well can I sense the threat or the danger that, but also like, yeah, I'm comfortable enough with myself and not taking things personally that I can just be observing her and going, okay, something's up, and I need to, like, that is a number one priority. Because it's like, no matter no matter what's going on for each person, if you feel shitty, I'm eventually going to feel shitty. If we're husband and wife, if we're together in so it's funny how I used to think, oh, happy wife, happy life, like, oh, it's bullshit. But the paradox to it is, if you don't feel well, I need to know, because that's both our responsibility to change, or we got to work together as a team to get you back to feeling like you again, because it's just going to come around to me anyway.
And I think there is an element of like happy wife, happy life, because like the mother, the woman is like she's the shine, she's the nurturer, and it's like it's not about I do everything for you. It's just this, like, I think there's a beauty in that. Like there's such a beauty in like if my partner is shining and feels fulfilled, like she's going to be nurturing me.
Yeah,
And a woman who is radiant and full of love and nurture, that's a woman that you want to be around, not a woman who's constantly nitpicking and, maybe
yeah.
that's the right context, but you get what I mean.
100%. Like, I think we just live in a fantasy of what makes her happy, and we think about
Yes,
our idea of what we do that makes her happy as men, and vice versa. Women treat men like a hairy woman. um, so like, yeah, we need to discover that, because I think a lot of men might think that they're like stuck between either, you know, pleasing and appeasing her, that then minimizes themselves, that they're never meant to challenge back when they are challenged. But she actually secretly wants that, because how would she respect him then?
we
He's
do.
like, yeah, like he's stuck between, oh, do I either, challenge back or please, or completely like just close up. He's thinking that there's only those two options, but really,
Mm,
you know, it's cliche, but the curiosity will allow you to begin to understand what the other person actually wants, what really makes them happy. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you wouldn't be happy if Logan was like, oh, I just want you to go and do whatever the hell you want all the time. Leave me with the kids. Like, he'll be fucking miserable, because he
yeah.
wants to go penetrate the world with his mission. And that's what has him at the best. And that's what makes you attracted to him, because he's going out and he's staying true to himself. And when you do, you're not going to be right 100% of the time, or reactive. And yeah, and he's going to go, no, that's not okay. Like, obviously, if he does it in a loving way, like, it's an attractive thing, but you want someone who's going to, respect themselves and value themselves.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's a real dance for us, like vulnerably at the moment, to be in that. Obviously we had that experience last year, and so now we're like, okay, well, what is the dynamic? And he's walking through his own path. I know he won't mind me saying this, of what he's been a business owner of building for so long, where I have a lot more clarity around what my work is and what my mission is, so it's an interesting dance to navigate that as well. I don't know if there's anything I want to questions on that, but yeah.
Yeah. Mm. What do you think is what's the big challenge for you both at the moment?
Um, it's funny actually. I did a little bit of work with my friend Emma Baker, and I shared with him. I was like, I feel like I'm covertly projecting onto you that you're not happy because you're not doing maybe your soul work right now. And it was funny because he's like, I'm really happy. And I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And this is like, I did a podcast on the other day that sometimes there's so much conditioning of like how we should be in this conscious space, of like, I should be this way. But when I think about how he is penetrating the world, like, he runs his men's groups and he's in the discovery of his mission. Like he truly is, and he's standing at the front line for like being the creator of our family. I think my biggest challenge is just trusting him, because that's been a huge thing for me around and then also last year and what happened, and is you're trusting him and his decisions as well.
Yeah, and you want to see that evidence, like
Yeah.
real evidence that you're bringing home the bacon, like.
And that's another thing. I mean, this is something that I'm curious to hear your take on it, but I part of my work is being in your genius, and one of my geniuses is creating money. I'm extremely amazing at it.
Yeah.
And Logan has had challenges of that in the past. So
Yeah.
we're in the discovery of like, okay, well, if my genius is and is being in my soul work, and my soul work brings in a lot of income, like does that, and he's still making money or being of service by serving his mission and providing for me. Like he provides so much safety. Like I've never been with a man who allows me to be me. Like, you know who I am. I'm fucking wild and crazy. Like he is unconditionally loves and serves me.
Mm.
And he does call me for, like, it's not like you just do it. It's not like, I mean, he has a little bit of a teaser, but I'm like, he's not here. I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't do this, but um, yeah. So we're in the dance of like, what does that look like? If I'm earning more money, does that take away from his value as a man as well?
Mm. I think even when we talk about like challenges with money, and I know this really well, like I spoke to you before, what I've realized is that uh like if I'm detached, it doesn't matter how much I'm making. Like even if there's the conversation of how much I'm making, then that shows that I believe something about my worth as if I am the money. It's really funny. Like I hear about, I think Alex Hormozy has been so incredibly influential and helped so many people. But I hear him say, I'm worth $100 million. And I think to myself, well, what if you were worth zero? What if you didn't have any? Would you still feel good about yourself? And I think about how many
Mm,
people like are modeling that. So yeah, it's great. It's like so much good done and it's all perfect. And at the same time, like, have you really reached the truth of, really what money is about as a tool and a vessel, and that the mission must supersede the money, and that we need to see that demonstrated, right? Like, which I think for a long time I didn't. Like the underlying greed for me from a lack of safety from my family I grew up around that had really like unresolved financial experiences that I took responsibility for, that ironically I kept like stopping myself from making more because of that self-worth attached into it. But once
mm,
I was able to detach from it and experience true blessed generosity and the actual, honestly, only recently I can fully feel, and I feel it now, like the gift of giving to other people. Like I couldn't
oh,
get to it when I was actually giving like money or something like that. I kind of knew in a way that there was always something there just waiting to get something back. So anyway, my point is that, can I answer how, I know you didn't ask, but like, how can you best support him?
yeah.
Because I feel
Yeah.
like that's what will elevate you both. It's like, he needs to
And
be,
support and elevate everyone listening, because a lot of women are going to be like, well, how do I support him?
this is the thing, right? He needs to be encouraged. And you want to see the evidence of trust for you, and it's understandable. It's like, I want to see the evidence of you doing what you said you're going to do, right? Or the thing that we've agreed that you're going to do, right? And that makes me feel trust, right? But let's go one step deeper in for you first. What if you just fucking trust anyway,
Yeah.
and you say, I've got your back no matter what. And because the focus is there, the focus is not on the effort. And that also is a reflection for the woman as well, because are you appreciating the efforts you do if you're not noticing and really not only noticing, but calling them out? Like, you have no idea what encouragement for a man's efforts will do for him. It will take
Mm,
a man from fucking ground zero to, I'm getting emotional talking about
mm,
like to understand, because men don't get encouraged, and add in the dad deprived guys. You can't, you don't encourage someone else if you haven't learned, or you aren't like regularly encouraging yourself. So of course that's going to be happening, because how many people don't encourage themselves or relying on someone else to do that?
yeah.
But when we come together as a unit, oh, I've said recently, the longest journey we'll go on in relationship is from I to us.
Mm, yes. Wow.
And so, what's best for us? If you, like, for me as a man, for you to say, fuck, I love seeing you did this. And
Mm,
like, I see you putting in that effort, and I just appreciate it. Like,
mm.
that is like a magic spell to fucking take you beyond the moon for him. Yeah, it's really emotional to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I
I see
just,
that.
I've seen men and women like going through unnecessary suffering in their relationships
Yeah.
because they're just tied. They're in this mental, emotional prison of, it's just the discomfort, and that's keeping them focused on that one way that they want things to be. But if we can really just, you know, realize it starts with us, and find out, well, really at the bottom of this, at the core of this, like, what does unconditional support, unconditional love look like? And if I was unconditional love, what would I do in this moment? Because you don't need a fucking strategy of what to say or how to communicate when you are in that place, when you are fully you. And that's difficult because a lot of us didn't get that when we were younger as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ironically, because our parents didn't know how and didn't get it right.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's been the biggest journey for us is from I think that's like we, both of us had to have such a polarizing experience of like almost losing everything
Mm.
because we were so
Yeah. Yeah.
and the only way we could come together was to be we,
Yeah.
it was like, it was the only way. And it was beautiful. And yeah, just like, man, I was just nitpick. I was just like, he was, all his wounding, mine is like, I can't trust men because they leave, or anyone, all the core people. My mum died, my dad left when I was 10. The core people in my life are not there for me.
Mm.
So like to let him actually support me was like, no way, threatening to like in our worst situation, I'm like, I'm going to leave you, like,
Mm.
but it
Yeah.
now, yeah, I love that because I've definitely trust him so much more
Mm.
and see, I love witnessing your vulnerability and sharing that because it, um, yeah, he does respond so much more,
Yeah. And if you say,
and
if there's another moment where you feel like if you notice that trust, you start thinking about that trust. If you say, I'm feeling distrust right now, like that's the unlock there. That's the goal. Because,
mm,
you know, that's not even about like encouraging his efforts, but he'll be like, great, everything will shift. This is the most important task for you to feel that trust again. And he'll want to go and move mountains. And that will support him going out and crushing it. And, you know, you know,
when I
a
tell him that I'm trusting him.
No, the opposite. When you feel the
Oh,
distrust, you say, when I saw you do this, or when I saw you not do this, or I'm thinking about like, this result didn't happen, or there's something that you were focused on doing, or you said you would do, and it didn't happen, because that's usually where the trust comes from. It's like you're looking for the evidence, and it's great. It's beautiful because you're so competent, like you guys are so powerful and competent that some people might just trust blindly, right? Like, oh, they did it. They did it once and that's it. But you're excellent. You're like, I want to see every time. And that's how he's not the man he is without you, because the standards that you uphold, that's they're high, and that's great. That's what we want. But it's the way that that is conveyed. If you remember it's about you and you're like, I feel distrust because I didn't see this result, and rather than, hey, what's going on with that, or like starting with what was already driving that thinking, which is the feeling of distrust. If you start and you really just express that in the moment when you notice it, he'd be like, tell me what it is. I'm gonna go fucking kill 3 animals for you, whatever it is, to bring it home, you know?
And I think a lot of the time it was the opposite, you know, like I was like in the moment when we're stressed and overwhelmed, like, yep, like I'm like, why haven't you done this? You know, you're not doing it right. But I think the really important key, especially for women, is like I'm feel like, especially tone, you know, like tone of voice, like, hey, I'm feeling distrust.
Yeah.
Is that do you think is more obviously that's more effective than going on
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. You know, it's a dance. Like both of us can lead the way here, because he could tune into that. He could really notice there's something that your body language will be showing. We always think we're hiding how we feel. We're not at all.
No,
Like,
we're never hiding anything. I always say to my clients, I'm like, you think you're hiding this, but everybody can see it.
so yeah, I mean, if you tune into it, if you slow down, definitely speaking slower is just going to relax you anyway. Like
Yeah.
taking a pause, counting to 5 seconds between when you're talking to him is almost going to help it, uh,
Yeah.
you know, dissolve or disappear. But yeah, as long as, and that's the courage to be vulnerable that we always come back to. Um,
Yeah.
it takes practice to realize, and that's a relationship with ourselves. It all starts. It's like, well, am I willing to say what I want to say? Because anything other than that would be, um, rejection of myself. Like, am I
Mm.
willing to lose anything and everything outside of me to stay true to myself? That's what supports me in saying those things that I'm scared of saying to Jess, to my wife, is like, no, what's most important is me staying true to myself. That's actually how everything else happens anyway.
So this is something that we come up with in our relationship is like, I'm like, okay, we stay true to ourselves, but what if we have different ideas and opinions? Like,
Great question.
for example, he's open to it, but he's not feeling like he's feeling fear around moving to the Gold Coast, where I'm like, yep, I want to go. I've been wanting to, like, I've been feeling the pull for years, and I've been bringing it up for ages. So like when we move from the I to the we and we're staying true to ourselves, like like, how do we navigate there?
So the first thing is, we we can't get to a solution that we would love to experience if we're feeling fear first. So
Mm,
we need to change that first, right? So how are you feeling when you start a conversation? How you feeling determines how you feel at the end, no matter what. There's like a 3% difference, and that's from science stuff. So you have to both feel expansive, or this is, when you're best friends, what I teach in my like relationship model of excellence is the 3 principles of best friends is there's play, creativity, and variety. So when we're together at the start, we have lots of that variety of places, people, things, activities that we do. So we need to protect that once we've moved into that season of with the kids, because me and you are in the hardest season of parenting, because they need us, from the age of
well,
1, they need touch to literally live, and now they need to see us and hear us to literally live until age 7 or 10, around that. So we need to protect that variety, because we are the result of the environments we've been in. So
yeah,
when we go into that environment where we've taken ourselves out of the usual pressures and responsibilities of the kids, we can get back to ground zero of just feeling relaxed enough, and that's where the conversation needs to happen. So that's the first thing. One of the things I do with couples is, after we've sort of you know, discovered, and what I call, we build this emotional map for them to make sense of everything that's coming up from what happened with parents and as a kid and all those sorts of things. And then we come back together and we do this thing, which you can do, which everyone can do, is this, we have this, like, there's this document. It's just like 3 columns, and the first one is just um, dreams, ideas. On the left column, we just write down all the dreams of what would you love to happen in the future, what would be nice. And then the second column in the middle is agreements. What are the agreements that we come to? And then the third one on the right is actions. It's that simple. But see, we don't need to go any further beyond strategy if we are feeling like ourselves, we're feeling playful, because we're going to be best friends. Because think about this. I always use this example. If you were having the same challenge with your best friend, what would you do?
I mean, I'll just do it.
Your friend doesn't want to move the Gold Coast, right? But you live with your
Yeah.
friend and you guys go everywhere.
Okay.
What would you do with your best friend? How would you resolve this? And
I
just
mean,
notice, go on.
I'd probably just go.
Probably.
I mean, I mean, you're asking me my truth.
Yeah.
But this is probably a shadow as well. I can fully acknowledge that, like,
Let me put the hypothetical limitation for this. You cannot just go by yourself. But they
okay.
have to go. They have to go with you. You're both responsible. So imagine your best friend is, you are the parents of the kids, right?
Okay. So my partner.
Now, what would you?
Well, I mean, what would I
Even think
do?
about the conversation. Think about the first thing that you would say. So just, who's your best friend?
I'll just say Emma right now.
Imagine Emma is
Right
like,
now.
right?
Yep. Okay.
Banging Emma. I'm joking.
Actually, I say my sister. My sister is my best friend.
Cool.
Yeah.
So just
Okay.
that you and your sister are a family. You're taking care of the kids.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to move to the Gold Coast, but she needs to go in this hypothetical. Okay, you cannot go by yourself.
Okay.
How would you have the conversation with her? What would you say to her?
I would just say, like, hey, this is what I've been feeling. Like, I've been feeling the energetic pull. Huh? That's
That's it.
it.
That's it. That's exactly what you do. That's exactly how you have the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because look,
I mean, that is what I do.
yeah. Good.
And he still
And
has fear and resistance.
yeah, you need to go somewhere else. like I said, you need to deal with that first, the fear and resistance, and find out
Yeah.
what is that?
Yeah.
Because it might not be about moving. Remember, all fear is fear of the unfamiliar,
Yeah.
the unknown.
Yeah.
So, and when we actually, when we actually walk up to fear, it goes from 10 stories high to 10 inches high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
just,
he chose me as his partner.
mm,
A little bit unknowingly, knowing what he was, but he is, yeah, very much leaned into a lot of fear since being with me. Because I'd move to bloody South Africa tomorrow. Like, I don't have,
yeah.
like, there's not that there's no fear, there's just more in those beautiful ways. We have a lot of, polarity, and he's very grounded and likes to stay where I like to leave. So we're a beautiful marriage in that way. So the last, 4.5 years, I've stayed in this area because he's wanted to be here. Where my oracle, my pull, my knowing is that we're meant to be down there. So he's doing it,
Mm.
and there's still fear.
I would ask the question, what has to happen for you to be excited to move?
For him or me?
Him. I would, if I were you, I would ask him the
Okay.
question, what has to happen for you to be excited to move? But
Yeah,
also, I'll come back to, like, you need to have that conversation in a place where you're both having fun, and address it then.
that's
And,
good.
and
That's
use
good.
that idea, that strategy that I said that I use with clients, which is like, let's just make a huge list of, what are all of our options? And that's where, you'll need to just entertain that, even if it's not something that you want anything other that he thinks. But then that just creates the experience in that moment of choice, because we have as many choices as possible, and that's
Yeah.
what allows you to get to the compromise, to get to the agreements and the actions that you're going to take, so that you both feel good about it.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Does that help?
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. I think it's going to help a lot of other people as well when they're feeling that, like, like, how do we, even come to that place? But the play and the creativity thing, I mean, yeah, that's something that we definitely, I mean, we haven't even had anyone to look after our kids. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, we now have more of that, but I definitely think that we and most couples in this season need to make that a priority.
Yeah, I've started a free community on Telegram called The Village, which is for any parents who want to join. So if anyone listens to this and they want to join, um, then that's just, my mission is to create this supportive as can be, for an online experience to, yeah, just be the village that so many of us don't have, and we need it. Like, that's what we actually need to thrive. And the village represents, it could be, if you don't have support from the grandparents or the mum or dad, you need to actually find a version of that within your
Yeah.
friendship group or your social network, wherever you are, because you're not supposed to do it alone as one
Um,
parent or two parents. You're supposed to, in the tribes back in the days, every single kid would see like 10, 20 females in the village as their mum, because they'd just be constantly handed around. Like, that's, you talk about the impacts of not having a dad around. I think this the impacts of the distrust that we now experience with people and community,
yeah.
means that we're all doing it harder. We're all going through the same battles behind doors. And the ironic thing is that if we were to open those doors and, begin to deepen that trust with each other enough to, give the other person our kids and stuff, that we would just be so much better off.
Yeah. I agree. I love that. What a beautiful way to end. And I feel like we could have 100 more of these chats. Like,
Yeah,
we only like scratch the tiniest bit of the
yeah,
surface. So
me too.
thank you so much for coming on and bringing your time. And yeah, we'll put your all your handles and stuff in the show notes. But yeah, thank you so much, Darren.
You're so welcome. It's great to finally connect as well in person.
Yeah. Yeah.